And they're way worse than I am. I'm just saying.
They're probably practicing so they can get onto your level.
Yeah, right. Although this one person, I don't even know if it's a girl or guy because I never really talked to him, but I was at Fate one day and he helped. Like, he came up and helped me because I was a black mage and I suck doing Fates as black mage. I just can't do it. And then I had him as a friend, and the other day he asked me if I could do T6 for him, and I'm like, oh, I hadn't even got past T5. But he was like, if you ever need help, just let me know. His name is Tank. I can't leave my party. I swear to God. I'm confused. It's gotta be the same person. They have the same fucking name. Sorry, I'm really bad at this shit.
It's okay, I know.
Shut up.
Nope.
Alright, let's see.
Oh, also follow that link and you can see this game online.
I can't follow links. I'm on PS4.
I put it in Mumble.
Oh. Okay.
You dirt.
So I'm guessing Wyatt and Steakums. Oh, she said invite me. Oh my God. Just disappeared off the face of the earth?
I don't know.
Well, they left the free company and went to another one, and they have not been on a day since. Because one of my friends was.
Okay.
They're probably playing Destiny like the rest of the fucking world. Alright, you've met Megan before, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. I don't even want to watch it.
And I was just showing you what it is, pretty much.
It looks like, look up my EX Primals and shit. You're not explaining what you're doing while you do it, right?
I might eventually. Once it gets going.
Alright, well, I'm gonna queue up.
Awesome. I'm gonna quiet you because you're really loud.
Sorry, I probably won't talk much anyway.
Cool, I've made you a lot less audible now, so it's all good. Maybe. I've just remembered I need to actually accept that. So this is Final Fantasy XIV, if you have never seen gameplay of this. And I'm about to do supposedly one of the hardest dungeons, but an update is due, so it's not very hard anymore. I've got a party of people from my free company, which is essentially a guild in this game. And I've played with them a little bit, but I don't know them fantastically compared to other raid groups in other games, for example. I know one of them pretty well. But they're good people, usually. Though I expect there may have to be some shenanigans happening during this. And And as everyone knows, jumping will make you run faster. Also, as I'm a bard, I can actually play that, which does actually make you go faster, provided you're not in combat. So currently my gear is just under the very possible best in the game. This game works like most MMOs, where all of the attacks are shown at the bottom here. Bard is like an archer from most MMOs, and it's mainly a DPS class, damage dealing, but it also has the potential of support for the rest of the characters in a way of playing songs for them. There's 3 main songs for Bard in this game, which are mana production for healers and magicians, people, TP, which is like energy, and boosted magic damage. Other than that, not as many songs as you'd hope for, to be honest. So Bards are mostly a damage dealing class with occasional option for support. But it is nice to still be able to deal pretty heavy damage. Whereas I believe in other MMOs, it's mostly support, more of a damage class. At this point in time, I think most people have run this dungeon enough to know what's going on. To the extent where we can just pretty much blast through these few enemies. When we get to the bosses, it gets a bit more interesting. I should probably attack the right thing. I'm probably hitting something completely different, as I do seem to keep pulling things off this tank. Or I might be overpowered. It's one of those two. Probably the first. Yeah. The best attack for a bard to do when there's many opponents is the backflip of arrows, also known as wide volley. Totally knew that off the top of my head. Which is totally unrelated to the actual gameplay, but if you are to do a wide volley, it does make you do a backflip jump, which you can then double jump, which is totally unnecessary, but the best thing of being a bard is the ability to jump higher than everyone else, obviously, and it helps in no way other than it looks fun. The actual best thing about being a bard is you can do attacks and move, which only melee can do, really, and I suppose tanks, but they don't want to be moving too much. But yeah, being a bard, you can attack from far and run around in just big circles. And the enemy's like, why are you attacking me? I can't do anything because this tank is annoying me. And that's how aggro works. If you didn't know already. Tank makes things mad. Things attack tank because they're mad. I think I keep pulling aggro by moving too close before the tank is ready. So yeah, area effect attacks, backflip bards. Pretty much how you deal with crowds of things in this game at high level until you run out of TP / energy / whatever you want to call it. Then you should probably switch to single attacks. And I should really remember how to rotate attacks better, but yeah. If anyone has played this game, this is Stone Vigil Hard Mode Dungeon. It's, I think, my favourite dungeon from the Expert Roulette, purely because it can be done quicker than the other two, and is less tedious / annoying. As you can see, the tank is also using the jump method to move quicker. And thus we are at the first boss of this dungeon. Look at it, all ready for us to go. It's got some pretty cool things in its back, which I've never really paid decent attention to. This boss is actually quite interesting, because most people either don't know the mechanics to it, or just outright ignore it. Or maybe both. Because what you're meant to do with these extra monsters that spawn is one of the DPS should pick them up. Which I guess I will do, since I'm explaining mechanics. Except I can't because the tank picked them up. So yeah, what is meant to happen, the DPS should pick them up and the tank shouldn't pull aggro off them, and they're meant to go and kill the ads in, like, say this corner, so that when the ads die, they don't give buffs to the main boss, which you can see there and there. But because everyone's so well geared at this point in the game, by everyone I mean pretty much everyone that's playing it right now, the extra damage doesn't really do that much. Everyone being so well geared because the item level cap's due to increase soon, so a lot of people that like haven't done the hardest content now are at similar to highest level gear. Obviously, if you do the harder content, you get better gear. Numerically, it's comparable, but stat-wise, it's different. And my rotation is failing a bit because I'm explaining stuff as well as playing. If anyone does play this and knows what I'm doing and how I'm doing it wrong, they should probably be dead by now. Hello, stream. How are you today, people viewing? This boss is nearly dead. If you ignore the mechanics of the ads, which is very possible with the level of people are, then you can just hit it until it dies. Next boss is more interesting. And the loot is crafting materials that can eventually use when I get round to crafting stuff. Terrific. I'm glad you're terrific. Because I am pretty average, I guess. And that was the healer pulling aggro, I think. Looking at the party chat. To which I reply. And we'll leave it there because otherwise it will devolve into many things I shouldn't say. Especially not streaming. Yeah, this is pretty much another trash pull. Things that are fairly easy to kill unless you're either very undergeared or really bad at the game. Or both. Though usually it's only one or the other. I fell into a burning ring of fire. So I did that. It was clever, they tell me. So yeah, all this trash, area of effect stacks, dies quicker. And that died pretty fast. And that's the next corridor that looks like this, where you get a lot more stuff there. Also cannons. Cannons are fun. Pretty much only this dungeon that has cannons. Oh, and the not hard mode of this dungeon, which is like this dungeon, but less hard. Whoops. I attacked that before the tank had aggro on it, and it bit my face a bit. Fortunately, I can use my bar jump and escape a bit, but that doesn't actually really help that much. The tank pulled it off me, obviously. For anyone who is interested in playing this game ever, and is also interested in the Bard class, my moveset is full level 50 and all the moves unlocked, but I'll go through a few of them for like an idea of the basic rotation. One of the moves you unlock fairly low levels, which is the most important to start with, is Straight Shot. You want to start with that because it increases the chance for crits. After that you want to move on to Venomous Bite and Wind Bite, so that you can lay dots up, dots being damage over time. And after that pretty much spam Heavy Shot. Heavy Shot being like the most basic attack, but it has a chance to trigger a guaranteed crit on Straight Shot. And crits is pretty much where all of the damage comes from as Bard, or most classes at high level, arguably. Because the more crits you have, the more damage you have, obviously. And if you get really lucky on crits, you can do 500 DPS a second for a few seconds until the crits slow down, and then you're down to 300 or 400, which is average for like max level gear. Yeah. The great thing about being a Bard is when you're dotting up with Wind Bite and Venomous Bite, that triggers Bloodletter, which if your dots do crits, you get free Bloodletters. Bloodletters being just extra attacks essentially, so even more damage. And I'm having ice balls thrown at me, so where did it go? There it is. So I should probably throw this cannon at this dragon. There we go. Threw the cannon at the dragon. All is good again. Well, for a bit. Until it hits me again with ice balls. But in the meantime, it's good. Except I pulled these things. But they're tiny, so... Another good thing about being a Bard is the area effect attacks. Because the best one being Wide Volley, which is the one that does the backflips. I'll just cannon this dragon again. I'm used to someone else getting the cannons before I can even get near to them. So yeah, as I'm doing the backflip attacks with the Bard, there is, how much is it? 15% chance that the next level down air effect attack, which this one is called Reign of Death. There's 15% chance that one will be free, and that one then sort of chains into Quick Knock, which has 15% chance of that being free. So 15% leads into another 15%, and you can potentially chain air effect attacks with only the cost of one attack. It's a really slim chance, but when it happens, it's just like, this is awesome. I'm actually going to move that back to there. Oops, I pulled. I did not want to do that. Save me, tank. Save me. Or don't. I'll just take these little things. It'll be fine. I can bar tank. I do that a surprising amount. As this is still like trash pulls in a dungeon, I'm barely doing a proper like rotation of attacks. Mostly just using AoEs to try and kill a lot of things as quick as I can. But then pretty much want to Straight Shot into Wind Bite, into Venom Bite, into Heavy Shot, mixing in Bloodletter whenever it's up, and also Blunt Arrow, Flaming Arrow, and Repelling Shot as much as possible. There's also 3 buffs I've got up here, which are temporary things that give me a bit more attack power. They're actually sort of macroed in with 3 of my attacks, with Wind Bite, Venom, and Heavy Shot. So basically when I trigger the attacks, it adds the buffs up. Now this boss is a fun boss. Just gotta walk there to start it. Because there's going to be a giant flying turtle. Eventually. Where is that turtle? There's the turtle. And now, get to fire cannons at it. This boss was a lot harder as well at one point. It used to... at this point in time, it's now possible that you can... gotta stun this. That you can kill it before like the second wave of ads comes out properly. But it used to take like 3 or 4 waves of ads minimum to kill it. But it seems to be weaker. Or people just got good, I'm not sure. But I don't think the cannons have changed in how good they are. There's simple cannon shot and stun cannon shot. Simple mechanics, but when the ads came out, it was like you can't aim your cannon at yourself because you can't bend a cannon, obviously. That and the spinning fire turtle attack, which sometimes comes at people. These little ads aren't a problem. It's the next wave that screws people over, and then the waves after that. Because then you get bigger ads that, instead of attacking these nameless knights, come at us. And if they're hitting us, then we can't fire cannons because they're biting our face off. Got to stun that. Oh, it also used to be that you couldn't stun 2 things in a row. You had to be like have one person stun the first one and the next one, and basically rotate it. Why is my cannon? There we go. Cannon wasn't working. See, this is the like annoying wave of ads. Whoops. Huh. The turtle actually blocked the cannon shot. That's cool. Until it does it twice and nearly kills me. So I'm gonna shoot that ad that's attacking them. Someone must have already got mine, which almost never happens, but I guess I was lucky. Gotta stun that. Yeah, the first time around this dungeon, had no idea how to do this fight. It was hilarious fun because we just died so much, not understanding the mechanics at all. Because like this has been the first and I think still only boss that you've got to use an outside weapon to attack it, pretty much. Although I assume there is actually a way to kill it without using the cannons. It would just take a really long time. Cannons are probably overpowered somewhat. I don't need that. But crafting gear is always useful. Probably. Yay, Coke. Remember kids, stay off drugs. And that is probably aimed at me. Because why wouldn't it be? And the format of most dungeons in this particular MMO, and as far as I can tell most other MMOs, is a bunch of trash mobs that are easy to kill, followed by a boss, more trash, boss, and final boss. Yeah. Oh, also, if you've never got into MMOs, I'll give a quick explanation of like there's 3 major roles. One being the tank, another being healer, and the last one being DPS or damage per second. The concept being the tank shouts at all the monsters, says, "Hey you, hit me." The monsters hit the tank. The healer heals the tank. The damage people kill the ads. That is how simple it's meant to be. Rarely is ever that simple most of the time, because either tanks aren't very good at tanking things, or DPS are annoying and say, you know this thing that you're tanking, I'm gonna go and attack something else so that you have to pull that back off me, because they're terrible DPS and don't understand to attack what the tank is attacking. But yeah, the concept is tank makes aggro, healer heals tank, damage kills it. Very simple. Never happens. Well, rarely. The reason I'm bringing that up is because of the last boss in this dungeon, which is 2 or 3 trash balls away. There is no aggro table. It doesn't care if the tank is annoying, it will just attack anyone. Which often leads to like half the party dying, well, or it used to until people got overgeared. So like half the party was dead, and the other like 1 DPS and maybe a tank or a healer, if it was an equal split, or tank and healer, or 2 damage even, we're just trying to avoid being hit as much as possible, and kill the boss pretty much. Because with no aggro, it is possible to avoid the damage a lot more because it can't decide who to hit pretty much. Yeah, and assuming your never happens, referring to what I said about how tanking works, it does happen with good people. But then I just stall aggro for a second and still I should stop attacking. Yeah, I just stall aggro for a second because I hit like a millisecond too soon. If I was a terrible DPS, then I would keep attacking and never let the tank have it back. Although I think this tank's good enough that they would easily pull it off me anyway. But if the tank was like significantly undergeared, for example, like I could attack fairly easily and hold aggro off them, which I've occasionally done with friends to be annoying, and because it's amusing. For their amusement as well, obviously. Not just to be a completely terrible person, most of the time. Yeah, you can see if straight shot is buffed because of the little outline there. As I was saying earlier, heavy shot can lead to guaranteed crits on straight shot. When it's got a little cut out line, then that... You've got an X potion. They're practically useless in this game. Or they're good in theory, but I almost never use potions because I'm just too lazy. I prefer to just avoid taking damage. When I was lower leveled, I used them fairly often because, well, I did a lot more individual stuff, I guess. Whoops. Well, that's how the tank dies. For some reason, it often happens on these last 3 ads, and I'm just gonna try and focus on this one as it's killing me most. Let's see, I should take the one off the healer as well. Yeah, it was too late. And I died too. Yeah, for some reason those last few ads seemed really good at killing tanks very quickly. Much to the confusion of that healer. But yeah, that happens a fair amount for some reason. Like, even fully geared people run in and don't realise how much damage is happening and die before they can adjust to it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the last trash pull before the last boss of this dungeon. And apparently there's a stun involved. But I don't have a stun as a bard. Pretty sure Dragoon and Tank have stuns. Maybe Monk as well, I don't really play those classes. But on that note, one of the best things about Final Fantasy is... Oh god, the healer just pulled them off. Well, this is going well again. See, this is how a healer will die. Except I just... Wow. I just saved the healer, so that's nice. So yeah, the healer grabbed the aggro then, foolishly. I'm self-healing the small bit I have. Okay, we're gonna wipe again to that, but... Yep, that happened again. So yeah, the problem with healers is if they're healing, they generate aggro. If they heal too close to things before the tank can pick them up, then that can happen. It happens to most people, if not everyone, occasionally. It's amusing though. Yeah, as I was trying to say before hilarity ensued, the great thing about Final Fantasy, you can play all the classes. You don't need to make another character, you can just play them all. See, all my classes. And some of them are high leveled. And there's all the crafting, and I've not done a lot of crafting. But some people are into crafting, but I get bored pretty quickly. Also, someone's not respawning. yeah, I guess RuneScape could do that as well, but RuneScape's like, meh. Oh god, someone's disconnected. Well, that's always fun when that happens. We seem to have lost the gold. Yeah, it is pretty sweet being able to switch classes, because I know that other MMOs you can only do like one and have a side class, or I can't remember how they're limited exactly, but not all of them you can do everything. My main class is Bard, which is what I am at the moment, and I get this cool foldy out bow as well, which is arguably the best weapon in the game once you upgrade it a few times. Look, folds into a harp, folds out into a bow. Harp, bow. Of course, the crazy thing is when I actually do play songs, I just summon a different bow from who knows where, but there's still a bow like actually in said harp around that area, which you'd probably see better if it wasn't glowing so damn much, but I kind of leveled it a lot. So this is apparently going to be an interlude where either Gold will sign back in, or we'll have to like kick them and find someone else, or I don't know. I'm not actually sure what will happen yet. Can I change gear? Oh yes, I can actually change gear as well. This is a bow that you get from killing Lightning Primal, which is currently the hardest primal to kill at the moment, although I've killed that one and I've not killed Ifrit, which is similar difficulty, I guess. Though I should have killed that by now, but I've just not got around to it because it doesn't really drop anything that I need. So, but yeah, this is cool because it glows purple. Oh, awesome! The back. As soon as they respawn and are alive, hopefully. I'm going to switch back to the other bow. Also, with each bow you get a cool quiver. Like this one is glowing in purple, and that one's just white and doesn't actually glow. Oh cool, it's also got a bit of a flute thing going on there as well, which I only just noticed. To go with the whole bard concept. Yeah, in terms of item levels, 110 is the best if you don't include the 115 weapon. 115 weapon can only be dropped from the very hardest dungeon, which is turn 9 in the Binding Coil of Bahamut. Alternately, the next level up from this weapon, which I can get to by doing a lot of dungeons with this equipped. It takes like 500 dungeon completions with this weapon equipped. I'll get there eventually probably, but I'm not farming it too much. But yeah, and I think probably next week the item level is going to increase to 130 anyway, so I doubt I'll complete another. See, I've got to have at least 400 dungeons left to do with it. So I'm not going to get through that much content in that amount of time. Anyway, let's hopefully this time, without all the shenanigans of before, we might actually kill these last ads and finish this dungeon. I'm going to kill this since it's dying quicker. That was a nice flare attack from the Black Mage. You can always tell flares because they're the ones that look cool and like big explosions, like Michael Bay directed this game. Speaking of explosions in No Story, the game story is pretty good. It's not like constantly happening all the time. It's like there is a main story quest line, and there is some voice acting to it. Unfortunately, not everything has voice acting, and a lot of it is text based. But because this game is Japanese, that is sort of understandable. Where some of them, quite I'm not sure what percentage it is, but a fairly decent percent of the main story is scripted and has voice acting. But for side quests, it really varies. And this is the last boss, of which I have told so much about. The one with no aggro that can just attack anyone, and thus hilarity will ensue. Or hilarity ensues, either or. I am actually wearing shoes in this game, so that's also technically true. Yeah. Oh, that's going to charge at me in a second. There it goes. Yeah. There's on this little side here, you can see the boss's name. If the symbol is a red square, that means its aggro is directed at me. So, because this boss has no aggro, the tank isn't provoking it as much as it usually would. Thus, I'm doing enough damage to annoy it, essentially. So, if this did agree with aggro, it would now be chewing my face off, pretty much. And the great thing about this boss is it just splits in two randomly, or summons a friend, probably more likely, because there's no real like split in two animation. Oops, don't want to run in front of that. So yeah, provided no one dies during this, it's fairly simple. Avoid the random attacks from these two guys, kill the first one, and then move on to the second one. For a long period of time, not everyone was very comfortable. Oops, I got hit. That's not good. I'm nearly dying. I can't really see what I'm doing very well because of the walls. But yeah, for a large period of time, when this was fairly new and the concept of no aggro table was a bit confusing for a lot of people, so everyone was like, why is it not attacking the tank? And that led to people dying because they weren't expecting attacks to happen when they didn't have aggro. So as I sort of described earlier, this one's coming for me now. Green means you've got no aggro at all. Goes green to yellow triangle to red square. Red square is like you've got all the aggro. Green is you have none of the aggro. Practically. Like I just attacked this now. Yeah, and it's gone straight up to the top. The tank obviously not using any of the provoking attacks because there's no point. It's just going to attack who it wants to anyway. As I keep trying to circle back round to then get distracted by myself. A lot of the time it would end up with half of the party dying at a time. And then the other two people would sort of fluke their way through it, or by pure luck manage to not get hit enough and kill it. A lot slower because they can do less damage but eventually kill it. Yeah. Had the healer not been fantastic earlier, I might have died because I took a fair amount of damage. I also self-healed a bit, but I'm just going to say that it was because of the party's healer. And that would be the Black Mage's Limit Break. Limit Break being a pretty cool attack that deals a lot of damage. There's bars there, as you can see, that say Limit Break. They sort of charge over time. Pretty much want to use them on bosses. And that's the end of that dungeon. And we get rewarded with currency, pretty much. And some loot. Ooh, hardened sap. More crafting things when I eventually get round to crafting. Yay, more crafting stuff. I'm just suggesting a few other things while I'm in a party. Hopefully we'll get to go to, that is pronounced circus. I'm still streaming, you can talk if you want to. I'm also in voice chat with one person, but they're kind of shy.
By the way, you're speaking to the newest millionaire in this game.
Well done. You're a very special snowflake.
You.
So from the looks of it, going to be running Circus Tower. Circus Tower is a fantastic dungeon to run. It's 24 person, so it's just full of silly shenanigans. And it really nearly said shilly shenanigans, which isn't even a word. Although we've lost one person, and they were the tank, so I don't know if that'll make it harder or easier to queue, because with 24 people content. Yeah. One of the problems of this game is queue time for damage classes or DPS, because there's so many of them, and comparatively so few tanks and healers, that it sort of builds up where there's a lack of tanks and healers when there's so many DPS. Rarely, but occasionally, it does also happen the other way around. There just happens to be a lack of DPS on at the time because everyone is playing tank or healer class, which has sometimes happened to me, and it is very confusing when it happens because you're like, how is there a lack of DPS? There's millions of them. You can like never get rid of them. There's so damn many of them. Yeah, while I'm here, I'll give a quick description of what's in the area, because why not? This giant cool floaty crystal thing's called an aetherite, and it's really pretty. And you use this to teleport to the main cities and all the other places. Go to the teleport menu to teleport. I forgot that. I'll show you teleport in a second. But on the note of prettiness, one of the great things about this game is it's actually really... the art's really nice. Or the graphical style. I mean, comparing it to, like, RuneScape, the art design of RuneScape is very minimalistic, to be polite. And when there's giant floaty crystals like that are just full of pretty. And the sort of like... this is like a sort of semi-arid desert location. I mean, there is still plant life, which is quite nice, but it's not full desert. There's cacti and giant ants, as you find in every desert ever. I don't know if you've ever been to a desert, but you will find many giant ants. I can tell you. You can go there and check it. I know you will. If you want to see a, like, deserty desert, I shall show you Southern Thanalon at Forgotten Springs, because I know how much you'll want to see the desert now that I've taunted you with the promise of a desert. And they don't know the mechanics of this dungeon, so I'm going to quickly tell them, if I can remember how to spell purple. Excuse me. Oops. My chocobo is currently stabled. Chocobos being the primary method of transport in here. It's like when you get to level 20, the max level being 50, max item level being 110, not including weapons. At 115. When you get to 20, there's a side quest to unlock a chocobo, and then you can ride a chocobo around. The thing I'm riding right now is actually some kind of giant lizard thing, which, random cool thing. It has fiery breath, which is, it can do fire breath, which is totally aesthetic and has no use other than that, but it looks cool. But yeah, this is a really arid desert. That's a mine, that's a giant sandworm, fire elementals, just like in real life. I mean, again, go to a desert, you'll find fire sprites there, and giant sandworms. And potentially big drills for mining purposes. See? Giant drill, just constantly rotating and spinning for the purpose of drills. Anyway, one other thing you may notice, in my character's hair, it's actually green, just like in real life, because that's how... Oh, cool, we've queued for it, nice. Because that's how accurate to detail I am. I have the same colour hair in real life. I also have red pants, although I think I've got some in real life. I never wear hats in real life though, but that actually kind of looks cool with the whole thing I'm going for. I may show you more of the world after to describe its prettiness, but...
Hey, Arya.
Hey, what's up?
Did I ever tell you about taking your soul stone out in the Cypress?
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to ask you because I don't always remember.
I can't do that at the moment. I've got to keep this weapon equipped to charge it with light particles, so that I can unlock cool things.
Okay.
If I take my other weapon, I could do that, but also I don't have awesome bard powers then. If I'd just stay as an archer class.
Do you have an awesome bard power?
Yeah, I've got the most awesome bard powers. I can play music and. No, if you're an archer, you can't use the bard abilities because of how the job system works. You've got to have your. He's. Wait, who's the bard? You mean when gold is barding?
Yeah, gold is barding.
Right, he's asking if he should play songs in, for example, if you're low on mana. But because you play Scholar, it's pretty rare you would run out of mana because Scholars have much better mana regeneration than White Mages do.
Yeah,
those being the two healer classes. Yeah, if you're playing with really, really good people, you almost never need to play bard songs, and you can just focus completely on damage, and that way you don't get the debuff from playing music. Because when you're a bard and you regenerate mana or TP for the rest of the team, you can deal less damage because there's a 20% debuff on it. I'm assuming you knew that, but just in case you didn't. Well, now you do. The only song that it doesn't do that with is for Requiem, which is the one that boosts magic damage, which actually helps you as a healer as well if you were to do some magic damage. Say if the other healer's competent and you could say switch to cleric stance and focus on attacking for a bit, whilst say for example the other white mage can keep the heals up for the rest of the team. I off-class as Scholar, and sometimes do that. Go ahead.
Is the only thing that PhilK36 going to do for me buff on ruin?
No, it should buff all your offensive magic.
Really?
Should do. Well, that's what I do as Scholar.
I feel like it doesn't just buff the ruin, and that is not worth it for me.
Well, it should buff Ruin too as well, at least.
But you have to remember, when you play PS4, I have a limited amount of things to put in the hotbar, which I can put them on the second hotbar, but that's too hard, you know.
You don't use the second hotbar?
I do, but I feel like I use it only for healers, really.
That's Summoner. You mean Eos or Selene? Do you ever use Selene?
I do. The only place I've ever used Selene was Titanius.
Right. I use Selene if I'm running with a group that's really good, pretty much. Otherwise, I just keep Eos out because I think they're going to kill themselves, pretty much. Eos and Selene being the two fairies as a Scholar. Scholar being a healing class. The way Scholar works is you get a fairy, it does heal sphere. Eos is pretty much based around healing. Selene buffs the magic damage of everyone else. That was just for the stream so everyone knows. Speaking of stream, this is Circus Tower, the, I suppose, highest level content with the most people. And it is a 24-person raid, 3 teams of 8, with 5 DPS, 1 tank and 2 healers. Previously, with 8 people content, they would have 2 tanks, but with this content, they've realised that if there's 3 tanks is enough for 24 people for this specific tower, so they've added more DPS so that there can be more damage dealt. To which they balanced it so that more damage needs to be dealt. So it's all fun that way. But yeah, with this many people, the shenanigans can happen. This is just a trash pull, but still, there's quite a few monsters there, even for 24, I guess. Actually, no, it's a decent amount. And I've already grabbed aggro or something. Oh, they pulled it back, and something else. And I think they've pulled it back. I'm going to move away just to see if they have. Nope, I've got these on me, and they have got them off me. That was fun. So because of all the area of effect attacks and it's just like special effects and explosions, it's kind of clusterfuckery and you can't really quite tell what's going on. So spam AoE attacks, kill stuff, and that is pretty much all you need to do for this. The yellow dragon is something that actually takes a bit of damage to kill though, so I'm going to move on to that. So everyone else can focus on area of effect attacking. At least that being the theory. Although this has a decent amount of health for a trash pull. Or all of the DPS in this particular trash pull is being really lazy. It's a distinct possibility. With 24 people, the people occasionally go, I'll just barely do anything and no one will notice. Which is true. Quite often people don't notice. So yeah, there's a trash pull, and then magical rising staircase. But yeah, going back to what I said about this whole place being really pretty, it is so big. What's up?
So,
look at how big. I'll tell you later about that, I guess. I'm not really sure what you mean, but I'll talk to you later about it.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yeah.
It's fine. I legit can't remember what you mean anyway, so. What was that? And this is the first of 4, I suppose, bosses in this place. When this first came out as well, this was content that killed a lot of people because the mechanics were pretty confusing at first. And this boss is weird as hell as well. I will just zoom in and show you. And also magically get rid of all the information on my screen. That is a many-headed dog with 4 legs and loads of paws coming out of its waist. And it has human arms and breasts though. Look at the size of its arms, seriously. And there's like 6 wolf heads. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to actually fighting this. So that's what I mean, where people can just like not attack for a bit and no one will notice. Can you see all these circles of fire? That is an attack only a bard can do. Look at how many bards are in this content. There's 2 in my party, 2 in that one, and 2 in that one. There's 6 bards in this thing. With classes, sometimes it's sometimes it is a case of there's an influx of certain classes. It always seems to be the one you're playing as well. Oops. Oops, I've got an ice ball on me, which means I need to find... Oh crap, it caught me. Yeah, the mechanics for this boss are... Get an ice ball on you, you're gonna get frozen, and you really want someone with a fireball to run into you. Like this person here, who eventually did run into me, and then you gotta run out of that water, or it does damage over time, I think. The other thing is you can get a purple ball. If you get a purple ball, run into this tower, it activates it, and then goes green, yellow, red. Anyway, back to attacking. Oh yeah, also this boss is called Scylla, I think it's pronounced. Scylla. You can see it just there. I'm not really sure if that's how it's pronounced or not, because it's a very weird name. But yeah, that's a purple orb. They need to go and take it over to that tower, as I said before. Oops, I'm not attacking the main boss, I was attacking one of the ads. There's also Staff of Eldering that they do area of effect attacks pretty much. And there's no point attacking them because more will just respawn if you kill them. So you've just got to dodge the attacks. I've got a fireball on me, so I'm gonna go and defrost this person over here that is either a healer or I think they're a black mage. Yeah, they're a black mage. And someone else ran to them as well, so I think that technically wasted a fireball. With 24-person content, it's divided into 3 parties of 8. My alliance is B, as it can see there, and there's also an A and a C. The way that people sort of divide that up is with these markers here. There's a B and an A and a C. People place them down pretty much anywhere. But there's like guaranteed places because people have done this dungeon enough times that there's guides on how to do it, and people have agreed, yes, this is the best way to do this way. So Alliance B will generally stick around B, A around A, C around C, obviously. There's also a mechanic that should be coming up very soon where I'll get to it when it comes up, pretty much. It did originally happen, I think, roughly around 30%, but as people are getting more overgeared, we're being able to do more damage quicker. So it's now probably going to happen around 20% health, at a guess. There we go. This mechanic, we need each group to stack up on their letter now, so that they can... It's a pressure switch event, essentially, because the boss is now casting, I think, Petrify. If we don't activate this reflective shield, it will hit everyone else. Put the shield up, petrifies itself. Otherwise, everyone else gets stoned for a bit, and not the good kind, the kind where you can't move. Or I guess that is the same kind. And also extra ads spawn. These ads we do need to kill, because otherwise they'll be a pain in the ass. So basically, if people don't stand on the switches and have and put the shield up, then everyone gets petrified, and that's a bad time, and often will lead to just death. Oh, I've got more fireballs on me. Where is a frozen person? There's one. I'm going to sprint over there, because otherwise it might wear off. Sprinting's a double-edged sword, makes you move faster, but you've got less attack power. Probably with most games, to be honest. This boss is nearly dead. A couple of people have died during it. I'm not sure how other MMOs work, but this is one where the healers can raise in battle. But doing so costs a lot of mana. To which I could sort of remedy to a degree using Mage's Ballad, for example, which will help regenerate their mana. You can see the group mana there. That's the boss died. I've just played Mage's Ballad purely as an example now. You can sort of see it's charging quicker now because of that. And no one's even looking at the treasure. What treasure is there? Belt of Healing. Something I actually already have. And this dungeon, the gear for it specifically, you can only take one piece a week. The week starts on Tuesday for some reason. It's just when they reset stuff. /update. Not sure why they chose Tuesday, but they seem to like it, the makers of the game. Obviously because I already have that, and it's also a unique item, so I couldn't get 2 anyway, but I don't want to get that gear again, essentially, because I've already got it. If I can get gear from this run, as there's only one a week, there's a chance I might not be able to roll high enough on something, or there might actually not be anything. There's only a couple... The only thing that I really need for my bard now is a coat from this place, which is I would be getting... also, this is another trash pull, and not very interesting. I think a dragon comes at the end. Spoilers, there's dragon. So yeah, I think the only gear I need from here is a coat that I just need purely for glamours or aesthetics. Glamours being you can wear gear and then use something called a glamour to make it look like other gear. Like the coat I'm wearing now is the coat that it looks like I'm wearing is only level 50. The actual thing I'm wearing looks very different. I think someone else here is wearing the actual one, if I can see them. Where's another bard? There we go. This bard here. Oh, the other bard in my party. Their coat is the one I'm actually wearing, but my coat looks different because I've glamoured it to this cool black number. And I should really get back to killing this dragon and not talk about fashion, but it is a cool thing where... And my other bow specifically is a lightning bow, but it's actually also glamoured from the other 110 bow in this game. The bow I've got at the moment is just how it should look though, because it looks pretty cool. Oh, there's more things to kill in here. I thought we were done. But yes, also this stylish hat I have going on as well is... The actual thing I'm wearing is... Oh! I forgot I've got that. That's a dungeon drop. It's normally like a bandana type face mask. And the pants that I'm wearing aren't actually red, but I've glamoured them to look red. The boots are how they should look though. But yeah, that's a quick explanation of how you can wear one thing and have it look like another, pretty much. This is... I'm going into fashion because this is a quite dull trash pull. There's some ads, a dragon comes, some more ads. That's all that happens. It's just sort of to add more content to this dungeon, because it's a really pretty thing, but it's not like there's any other kind of... There's no like puzzles to it, I guess. There are very few puzzles in this game, but there's like a couple. The puzzles mostly come in the form of mechanics for boss fights, to be honest though. Like this thing, a launch pad, which is pretty awesome. This boss is another one that I can't pronounce. It's the second of 4. Labolus? I don't know. That's what I'm gonna guess is how you pronounce it. But it's got a weird name. There's some pretty cool mechanics in this boss though. Most of them are just pretty much attacks you've got to dodge, but it's still pretty cool. When we eventually get round to... When everyone's jumped in here. Oh wow, a ready check. That's been ignored mostly. Yeah, ready checks are a great thing, but when there's 24 people, the tanks are far too impatient to wait for it to start. And it can't decide which tank to attack, so it's going round in circles. I think it's locked onto one now. No mechanics quite yet. There we go. That's a fun attack. I don't know if you saw that very well. It's pretty much a circle AoE that you've got to dodge. But it looks cool. It's not like the standard ones. And I'm doing very badly at keeping up my rotation / attacks in order, because I'm too busy explaining all the fun that is this game. Here we go. These ads are fun. See, what happens is they spawn and they fire lasers that kind of make it invincible. Someone's got to go and stand in the little circle. There, that's a cool AoE. Someone's got to go and stand in the circle to drop the invincibility, then everyone else attacks them, pretty much. If there was chance, I would sort of like attack one that didn't have the circle drops, but everyone is jumping in there before there's even time for that to happen, because like those two over there actually. See, it's invulnerable. Can't attack it. I'm going to stand in here, and now because I'm stood in here I can't move for a second until that's dead. But yeah, that's basically how that mechanic works. It's a cool mechanic. While that's happened, the boss is dying pretty strongly, and it's doing a big sort of explosion-y thingy where we can't attack it for a second. Big explosion! And eventually, there we go. You think that would do more damage, but it didn't. Although I think if we don't kill all the ads, and this is my favourite part, because Destructo discs, they're just flying across, and if you stand in them, then they will do damage to you. Or not, but unless that was just really slow delay. I'm going to try and stand in it again. It's not working. I know, if I go in front of it, I'll catch it. There we go. So if you stand in that long enough, then it will kill you. Or if you get two hitting you at the same time, it can do, or it used to be able to do decent damage into, if you're lower geared, I guess. Which I was at one point, not very high geared. Now this is a great mechanic that, again, originally screwed up so many people. It was quite funny. What you've got to do is, it's mostly up to the tanks, so I could be a bit wrong with this mechanic. Got to get these squires in between two of the lasers, so that the lasers can't buff that guy, pretty much. Now we've killed that, the lasers are locked onto it. And when all three of them have that happen, these jumpy rings happen again, basically. And the reason we want to come out here is because in a second, he's going to do the big sort of hover in the sky, big explosion attack. Only this time it will actually kill you if you're not out of the way. So you've got to pretty much escape to these outer circles. See, there's the big explosion coming up. So anyone left in the middle, they're gonna die. They're not gonna survive that. Maybe a tank with ridiculous armor could, but I can't remember how much damage it does. It's a lot though. So now we're on these outer circles, and after the attack is done, we need to get back to activate these jump pads. Do that. Got to kill these Spannerooks, of which there are this many rings worth. I don't have time to count right now. There's a few, but between 24 people, they die quick. He's currently recharging there in the middle, and I'm pretty sure everyone get out in time. So that's the end of them. We've killed them all, and now we can jump back in. And that is the mechanic. So yeah, you can imagine the first time that kind of mechanic happened, no one knew what the hell to do, and just the amount of death that happened from that. Surprisingly, the dog-headed boss had a lot more death on it though. I think it was a case, if people could deal with the first one's mechanics, they could kind of deal with this one. But when this dungeon first came out, there was a lot of giving up on Skiller / the first boss. Huh. Same boss's belt, but different purpose. Don't need that. The next boss is potentially my favourite, which... There's another trash pull first though, so I'll go through the trash first. It's pretty dull again. There's 3 ogres and a dragon. I'm pretty sure some other stuff spawns after it that's like tiny and insignificant. Although these red demon ogres are called Azers. One of these summoners got that belt. While waiting, I'll quickly go over the class of summoner. Summoners are cool. They can summon little pets. Like that thing. That thing's a little pet. That summon is a Garuda Eggy. Garuda being one of the... about 80% through the main story, it's one of the primal bosses. It's not really a spoiler, so don't worry about that. It's pretty well known by everyone that it exists, since it's the pet of one of the classes. That and news travels a lot in this game. So yeah, the cool thing about Summoner is you can summon mini smaller versions of the primals, or the 3 main ones. I believe in a future update they're going to add more summons pets as well, because there are more primals that you can fight. The Thunderbow earlier that I mentioned is a reward from killing what is technically the highest level requirement primal to kill, and I think the least people have killed it. Not entirely sure though. Arguably, there's other bosses that have harder mechanics, but in terms of like level cap, that without it being the coil, that is. That is the hardest thing, pretty much. More ads. So yeah, the summoner gets a little pet to help it out. As well as that, its attacks are mostly done by dots, which is damage over time, as I said earlier. And there's a funny thing about summoners in this game. It seems they're either really good or really bad at their jobs. The really good ones can obviously do a lot of damage. The really bad ones tend to not be able to do much at all. And for some reason, just the summoner class seems to have a bigger split of that. This boss is possibly my favourite boss of this tower, because it's just so over the top. Like, have you ever seen a fancier person? And he's called a Mon. It's also the loot that drops for Bard, which is the class I'm playing, if you've forgotten, is all essentially everything he is wearing. Like, there's a Mon's hat, Mon's coats, pants and shoes, and they just look ridiculous, and it's quite funny. So yeah, the only Bard gear I need from here is a Mon's coat, and need that purely for how it looks. It's not as good as my gear, obviously, but if it turns up, I might try and pick it up so that I've got the outfit, because it's hilarious. That and I semi-collect stuff if I can. I mean, to a degree, there's like a limit on how many items you can have, and you don't want to fill your inventory with useless junk, but still, if it's as hilarious looking as that, and it's still very high level gear. It's just not the highest. Of course, with another update coming out soon, it's going to be even more high level gear. Which would that mean I want to collect it less? Anyway, back to the mechanics of this fight. There are now 2 ads out that are called Cum Cum, which is just a hilarious name. And the purple orbs return, only this time they will minimise whatever they hit. I'm apparently tanking this now, which is great, because why not? So you wanna lead the orbs into the cum, or as some people pronounce it, cum, whichever name is less ridiculous, and they're both very ridiculous. So it's a hard choice. Bard tank is best tank as well, obviously, if you didn't know, because Bard tank is hilarious, because it shouldn't be doing that at all. Speaking of hilarious, there is an already minimised Dragoon that is just running around with another orb on it, and it can't lead it into any more ads, so it's just don't know what it's doing. And here is more cum, which I'm going to tank again probably, because why wouldn't I? I'm going to try and lead it in. Nope. Yeah, so that summoner then should have really led the purple orb into the cum. Which this other, I think, what are they? Oh, they're a Bard. Huh. It looks like they definitely did do that right, but for some reason it just didn't pick it up. Yeah. I'm gonna die soon. I really hope someone's healing me well, because I'm currently tanking this thing, because no other tank has picked it up off me. I don't know why. I'm just gonna guess they're lazy. I've got a target on me. What does that mean? Oh wow, I've not been frozen in this fight for a long time. I forgot that mechanic can happen to me pretty much. It's been that long. So also giant snakes appear, but I don't think there's anything special about them. And people can get turned into frogs as well, which is always fun. And the frogs can't attack properly. They do get a fire breath attack though, which does like 500 damage, which sounds like it's really good, but it takes longer than a normal attack, so it's not. It works out to be not that. It's a bit worse than it. So I'm frozen in ice. Which is good for the rest of the group. What happens is he's doing his attack here, Curtain Call, which is a big AoE attack, area of effect attack. Curtain Call is pretty much closes the curtain on the axe, as in it will kill you. Unless you hide behind this big ice cage that is around me. So I'm free from the ice now, and the ice cage protects everyone else. Anyone who is too slow or too foolish to not get behind the ice in time will die. So I was frozen to save everyone else, pretty much. I'm so noble with my ways. Potentially, the other reason this is my favourite boss is because after it dies, there's no more trash pulls. Which, I hate trash pulls because there's nothing to them. They're not really that challenging, but yeah. They're interesting the first few times you do it, but this is a dungeon that gets spammed fairly often. You have to run it a lot of times to get content, pretty much. Why won't this open? There we go. Yeah, I don't need casting pants. I also don't need that, because that is one of the things to unlock the highest, well, the alternate highest weapons in the game. But it takes a lot of other stuff, so I don't need that at the time. I'm going to pass the oil, because I don't need oil right now. And there's an option to get sand. Sands and oil of time are used on soldiery gear to go from level 100 to level 110. Soldiery being one of the currencies along with myth. Basically you get it from running content, and you can trade it in for the highest level gear. All level 100 gear use oil and sand to make it 110. This is the very last boss here though, Zand. This boss is fairly fun. Also, going back to the beautiful scenery, you can see his big ass throne there. It's a very pretty big ass throne, of course. And the fight has started, so let's attack this dude. The blue circles on the floor here are similar to the red circles a bar can make, but they're from either Summoner or Scholar. Interesting thing about Summoner and Scholar is they're both jobs classes. Jobs classes being like the evolved form of a regular class. Like for me, the regular class is an archer, and the job class is a bard. Once I get to level 30 in archery, I can then unlock the bard class by use of a soul stone. My soul stone being Soul of the Bard, obviously. To do that, you've got to do like a special quest. They're usually pretty cool story quests as well, as far as story content goes. The other thing you need is to have a secondary class up to level 15 as well. So it's like major and minor, or split, primary and secondary. Primary class being archer. For secondary class for bard was strangely pugilist, which is hand-to-hand combat. I'm still not really sure why that is the secondary class, but the cross-class skills are pretty damn useful. Second wind being a quick healing thing, internal release being damage increases crit rate by 10% for a short time, and haymakers, it's an extra attack occasionally. But that's lower level stuff, really, to be honest. Yeah. Some mechanics of this fight. The main boss has disappeared. We've got to first kill all the outside circles, which died really quick. I didn't even get time to explain them. And then kill this big circle before that giant meteor happens. With groups that aren't as good as this one, that can take a lot longer, but this group damn annihilated it. And he's back already. Oh sweet, this orb's on me. Now this orb is great, because it leaves a like sort of levitation circle. And the more you run around, the harder it is for everyone else, so I was just being annoying. Now everyone needs to stand in the circle, or if they get hit, they will die there. But then you're going to run out the circle, because then there's more attacks that will also kill you if you don't run out of it, like that one bard in that other group didn't, probably. Also, some other mechanics that came up before that I didn't mention that should be due very soon. There's yellow. There we go. Yellow orbs that come up. Pretty much everyone's got to run into one, or they all need to have at least one person in, I think. And if they don't, bad things happen. Usually death or lots of damage. I can't remember which way round it is, but either way round, it's still get in one. So yeah. Also, as I just noticed this, none of the 6 bards are playing for Requiem, so I'm going to stick mine up, because that increases magic damage of summoners, black mages, and should there be a scholar or white mage doing DPS as well. It gives them a little boost until my mana runs out, which is part of the support class of barding. So yeah, these are the smaller circles that themselves all have... Damn, that was cool. It's very rare you look up in these games, but they are so... It is really worth looking up more in this game. I always forget to. Because, damn, that meteor. And that big portal into the nether worlds. It's so pretty. So yeah, gotta... If the meteor drops, everyone dies. Pretty simple mechanic. Yeah, with all the hectic AoEs going on in the first boss, it's arguable that the first boss is the hardest thing in this dungeon. Or if you can kill the first boss, you won't have a problem with the others, pretty much. For a while as well, I guess, though, the second boss people struggled with. Oops. So yeah, going back into job classes, or the brief description of that I was giving. With Summoner and Scholar, they are both job classes of the minor class of Arcanist. Thus far, Arcanist is the only class that leads to 2 jobs, Summoner being DPS, that has pets that do damage. The pets are based on the primals of the main story. And I'm just going to be nice here and say thanks to everyone. Whereas Scholar essentially has 2 fairies for healing purposes. And I will send the commendation at someone. I can't decide if anyone... it usually goes to tank, so I will give it to a summoner. A tank or healer. And the loot for this place is... I don't need that helmet because I've already got it. Don't need the tombstone because I've already got... I don't need that at the moment, pretty much, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'll probably roll in sands to see if I get them. I'm not going to get that with a roll of 8. Probably not going to get that with 29. Yeah, someone else in my party did though. Do I get the oil? Yeah, I got the oil. I'm pretty sure I've got a few oil already, but... yeah, oil upgrades, accessories that are 100 to 110, accessories being this side, and sand upgrades this side. This side usually costing a lot more in materials to obtain. And someone from Alliance C is slow rolling because they're a douche. It's totally something I'd never do, and I've only done like a few 100 times. I don't know, I've done it a couple of times maybe. But yeah, that was Circus Tower. It's a pretty fun tower. It gets tedious though if you're doing it more than once a week to try and get the loot, which is why I just took the oil instead of holding out for like the bard coat, for example, because I really don't need it, but the coats could be cool if it does turn up eventually. Yeah. Whereas I can use the oil to upgrade soldiery accessories when I get some. Currently I only have 208 soldiery. I need at least... How much was it? 375 soldiery to get an accessory, I think. Yeah, the healer in my party got the sands, so they were quite lucky. While I'm still streaming, I will show a bit more of the beauty that is this world. This world being... It's actually called Eorzea, which is a cool name. This is Corthius, coming here because it is... When it loads, I will say the next part of this. There we go. It's beautiful and snowy. I keep forgetting about my chocobo. So I will summon my cavalry drake, which is a nice lizard thing. And you can just see all this pretty snow land and stuff. And ice sprites. If you've ever been on mountain, there are ice sprites. And gobus, that is called, which is quite a big thing. Yeah. And basically, it's all just pretty. And there's castles and snow. And look at the snow particles. And they almost look like snow might in real life if you squint, kind of. And there's a flag. Trying to think if there's anything else specific around this area. This is quite a pretty castle. Off the top of my head, there's nothing else around this region specifically, so I will go to Costa because that is a nice place as well to show off how this world looks. And I lost someone in my party. They're the person that disconnected earlier, so they might have the same problem now. I know, who doesn't love flags?
Hello.
Hello. I've just gone to Costa because it is a beautiful, nice and beachy place. And that is a quest. That is what a quest looks like. And I'm not going to continue that at the moment because I'm going to save it for later pretty much. That's a part of the Hildebrand quest, which are quite hilarious, which I've not got around to doing that yet. But this is a beautiful beach, and the lens flare, which you can, again, you always see that in real life. I don't know why they add that effect in when it's not like a real life thing. I mean, it does kind of look cool, but still, you never get that in real life. And I've never noticed this before. What is this? Oh, that's a coconut, but like a quite detailed coconut, like one that's sprouting. And that is an orange thing that maybe it's another coconut, I don't know. That's a plant tree thing. But yeah, these are quite pretty coastlines, and there's a lighthouse over there. And some sort of pier architecture. And while I'm just showing off the geography, I'm gonna go to one of the, I guess, 3 major cities. This one's one of the prettier ones, I guess. Oh, they're all fairly pretty, but the desert one isn't that interesting. It's mostly market-based. And just buildings, pretty much. Whereas this one is pirate-themed, essentially. What up?
My friend Joyce talked about she's gonna come over, so I'm gonna get off now.
Okie dokie. Thanks for partaking in the dungeons for me to stream, I guess. You sand thief, you. Yeah, I pretty much just took an oil just so that I didn't have to run Circus Tower repeatedly this week.
Do you have all your oils yet? You do.
Oh yeah, I'm 110, but I'm stocking up because soon soldiery is going to be much more easy to obtain. So.
True, very true. Did you watch the preview for the next patch?
You mean the 2.4 trailer? I have, and damn, I am excited for that. That looks so awesome. Like Shiva, the Ice Primal. That is. I'm so glad they're adding her in because she's been like a cool character in previous Final Fantasies, and that's gonna have some interesting mechanics. Probably a lot of it is going to be like, oh god damn it, I'm frozen again. But still, I wonder how much. Oh yeah, she's really cool. Pun not actually intended that time. But I'm wondering like how much harder it's gonna be than Ramu Extreme, for example, because that's pretty hard, and not a lot of people.
I think
Yeah, Titan is arguably as hard as Ramu. I mean, the mechanics of that are just so damn hard. Do you want to run through Titan now quickly, just for lols?
I can't. She just got here. Like, literally, I hear her coming on.
Well, I guess you've got to go then. And I'm now party leader, and Goal's offline, so I'm probably going to have to kick them, because they're not even here.
Oh. But next time, definitely Titan.
Maybe.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, are you excited for the ninja class, also known as Naruto, the class?
I am, but I feel like so many people are going to do it that I'll wait.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. There are going to be like so many terrible people at that class, because from what they've described of it, it's going to actually be difficult to play. So there's going to be a lot of people that are just really bad at it. I might level it as well and try and be actually competent at doing it. Oh yeah, have you noticed all the pumpkins around, like Limsa and Gridania and Uldar? It's
Halloween.
Yeah. This is Halloween, this is Halloween, da 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 da.
I really did like the black mage's coat or whatever, but I don't like the cheesy ass pumpkin bats on it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Did you see my gold room?
No, but I'm going to say yes to make you feel better.
Oh, fuck you. It's so cool. Next time you come on, check out it.
Okay, remind me, and I will. Have you got the chocobo barding for Halloween yet? Because that looks pretty funny.
No. I didn't know there was chocobo barding.
It is. It's quite funny. It's. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like it's wearing a black cloak and it's also holding out a pumpkin lantern. It's so spooky.
I want that.
I know you do. To get that, in the next couple of weeks, you've got to repeatedly spam the same fate until you get enough cookies to trade it in.
Oh, I'm gonna do that. I got the weekend off, so I'm just gonna do that.
I bet you are.
Shut up. And probably talk to you as...
Yep, you do tend to do that quite often.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it. It's a good hobby to have, talking to me. I'm very talkative occasionally.
You're old talking. What do you mean occasionally?
Well, I don't always get the option to talk this. I'm only talkative when I have said option to. That's occasionally. Because logic.
Isn't that logic, I tell you?
I know, it has been your downfall for so long now.
No, it's true. No, that is not my downfall. Ass.
Okay.
Alright, I need you.
I know you do.
Alright, well, I'll talk to you later.
Bye, have fun with that girl's name I've forgotten.
Okay.
Bye. And that was the healer from my group, who I had on voice chat as well. And I've just been running in circles while I was saying bye to her. So sorry if anyone's dizzy now, because I get dizzy crazy easily. Yeah, the great thing about the 3 main cities right now... oh, that was actually a girl, if no one could tell. They were pretty quiet though, because I've turned them down so much because they were crazy loud earlier. Yeah, the great thing about the 3 major cities right now is there's pumpkins everywhere. It's Halloween. There's Halloween events. I'd show you them, but I've already done them, so I can't replay it. But it's really fun. So if you're gonna pick up this game at any point, do it like in the next couple of weeks, and also ask me to refer you, because then you can get help leveling because of items. And that they've got the same coat as me, damn them. Although the hair's pretty cool. And they're a warrior. Yeah, quick run through of classes, because why not? Gladiator, they get sword and shield. Upgrades to paladin. Pugilist, hand to hand. They get like these sort of, I suppose, knuckle dusters, but they're like oversized and they look pretty cool. That actually, the job class of that is actually monk, which I'm really not sure how monks work in other games. But I thought they were more like Healy, essentially. or prayer, or like use prayer to praying. Let's say praying instead. That sounds more natural. They use the ability of praying to boost the rest of the group. Marauder is the other tank class other than Gladiator, and goes into warrior job. Basically has an axe. Lancer evolves into Dragoon and has a lance. Archer, my class, goes into Bard. Then there's the magic ones. Conjurer is a white mage. Thaumaturgy is black mage. And Arcanist is that special one I mentioned earlier that can either be a Scholar, which is a healer, or a Summoner, which is damage, both of which get cool pets. I've actually leveled up my Arcanist to 50, as you can tell. And I off-class as Scholar so that I'd get the chance to heal occasionally. I've sort of glamoured mine to sort of look like as close as I could to Link from Legend of Zelda, because... Hang on, I'll just swift cast this so it's quicker. No, I won't. Why won't you swift cast? There we go. Because the time it took me to do that. Because now I've got a fairy following me. And I think you can see where I'm going with that. I mean, there's a fairy following me and I look like Link. Hey, listen! Essentially. If I can find it in my inventory. I actually am upgrading my boots so they look kind of different. Yeah, that was how they should look. I've not got round to changing my fancy new shoes to look the right way, but that kind of works. Link's got armoured legs for now. Yeah. And Scholars are pretty cool because white mages are like purely about healing, whereas Scholars, well, not just purely about healing, but they're focused more to heal. Scholars have a bit of like shielding, for example. Sacred Soil reducing damage a bit, and there's a bit of offensive power because they have the same base movesets as Summoner, which are mostly dot based, damage over time. So when they're in combat, they will put up some dots like Miasma, Bio 2, Bio, and Air is actually stolen from White Mage, but so that's like the cool thing about Scholars essentially. Swiftcast is cross-class skill from Black Mage, which is just useful information if you ever do get around to playing this game and playing any kind of magic class, because Swiftcast is so essential, specifically with raising, because if you normally cast Raise, it takes about 8 seconds. 8 seconds in combat is a damn long time. So Swiftcast that, instant raises. It's what the good healers do essentially. I used it earlier to summon quickly because otherwise summoning takes a while. There's two fairies, as I sort of mentioned earlier. Eos is main for healing. Selene is for it also does heal, but whenever it it's already out. Couldn't see it. And Eos is pretty green. Selene looks like that, purple and yellow themed. So Selene will also buff the damage of the rest of the group with Selene's abilities. Can't remember exactly how because I rarely use Selene, to be honest. I should use it more, but I don't heal as often as I play Bard, obviously, and I only use Selene when I'm in a group that I know isn't gonna die every time they get hit, practically. So most of the time I keep Eos out to make it easier to heal, because I know how much people die, pretty much. So yeah, the abilities of Selene, Phaelite, for example, increases skill speed of everyone around me, which means they can attack more and do more damage. So like, Selene's sort of a support fairy, you could say. Yeah, Faeglow is spell speed and Phaelite is skill speed. Let's see, Embrace is healing and that uses silence. There's a few classes that can do silence and Selene is one of the ways it can happen. I think there's more abilities that I can't actually get into. Oh no, that's all of them. They are Eos abilities, I think. Yeah, so Selene can basically raise spell speed and skill speed, whereas Eos can raise health restoration and magic defense. So yeah, Eos is for healing and defense. Selene's more for offense, which is why most of the time I stick with Eos. Summoner is the other route of Arcanist. I rarely play Summoner. I'm not fantastic as a Summoner, to be honest. But Summoners are still a damn cool class. And that's a mini Garuda. You'll see most Summoners using Garuda because Garuda increases the abilities of the dots, for example. So with Garuda out, your dots will do more damage. Is the short story. There's more to it, but I won't go into too much detail in this example for a change. Garuda, in the story, Garuda's the third of the primals you actually fight, which isn't a massive spoiler, but is a tiny bit of one. The second one is Titan, and Titan is a I suppose as far as pets go, it's a tank class pet. You summon this and it will tank for you, so that it takes the aggro off you and you're not getting hit. For in the wilderness when you're attacking, I suppose wilderness trash, whatever you'd want to call it. The giant ants from earlier, for example, they're only level 5, which so is if I hit them they'll die, or if I poke them in the face they'll fall over. But if I go to a level 50 area and have Titan out, it will pick up the aggro off all the ads. The Garuda's a caster / range type DPS, and the first primal you fight, and potentially most recognisable from Final Fantasy series, is Ifrit. That's like a mini version of it, and that's sort of straight melee DPS. Take this into combat with you and it will go up and use its claws to scratch things, essentially. And while you are, in theory from a distance, putting dots up like Miasma and Bio 2, and using Ruin and Virus and Shadow Flare, which is sort of similar to Sacred Soil, or actually more accurately Ring of Fire from a Bard. It's a circle that does damage when things stand in it. That's pretty much everything. All the main stuff about Summoner. There's a lot of other abilities that I'm not going into because, well, for one thing, I'm not a fantastic summoner, and the other reason is I don't want to, and there's not really that much time. But the other cool thing about, I suppose, Arcanist is use Aetherflow and you get up to 3 stacks of that, and then you can use special abilities. As a scholar, they're sort of focused on healing and defense. Like Scholar special ability, Sacred Soil, that takes a stack of Aetherflow. Another ability was called Lustrate. That deal, I think it heals a quarter of any target's health. Well, friendly target. So Lustrate is the main healing ability of Scholars because it's so good. And if the tank is next to dead, you can spam Lustrate and heal them up pretty quick. It's the best feature of Scholar practically. The way that Summoner uses it though, when they've got the dots up, like Miasma Bio 1 and 2, they use something called Fester, which it deals extra damage for each of the dot on it essentially, and it can only be used though when you've activated Aetherflow. The other ability that can be used is called Bane. Scholars can actually Bane as well, if I remember. Yeah, they can. And what it does is it spreads the dots from one target onto 2 other targets as well. So you've put Miasma Bio 1 and 2 on one thing, Bane that over to the other 2, and it's pretty good. Scholars can also do that, but Scholars are mostly focused on healing. And the last thing is Energy Drain, which absorbs 50% of the damage as it heals a Scholar and also absorbs MP, which is one of the reasons that Aetherflow also restores 20% of your MP or mana points, which is one of the reasons that Scholars as healers, they run out of mana a lot less than white mages do. If you're in big parties fighting really hard things. I noticed that main class being a bard, so because I can mana song, I've like, as well as doing damage, I've got to keep track of the healer's mana. Like, if there's a white mage that's low on mana, then he can't heal the party, so I can mana song to get their mana back up, basically. It's rare that a scholar will have that problem because they have the mana restoration. Pretty sure white mages do to a degree, but just not as good, essentially. Yeah. Wasn't exactly planning to go into that much detail about that, but I did. They're the classes I can play effectively. I've leveled up other stuff mostly to 30 now, so I can play a bit of the other classes, but I'm not very good at them. I'm not very good at Summoner, but it's fairly high leveled in terms of item level. The place I've gone to now is Free Company House, which is like a guild house. I happen to be in a really good free company, thus the house is pretty huge. Like, most people's are quite tiny. If I can... Like, that one over there is a free company house. Pretty small compared to this big, giant house thing. The other cool thing is chocobos outside. This one's actually my chocobo. And... let's look at mine. Mine's actually dyed purple at the moment. I'm trying to dye it black, but the way dyeing it works, you've got to feed it food and kind of do it in steps. And it can also have cool barding. The one I've got equipped at the moment is white mage because I just unlocked that. To do that, you've got to train it to rank 10. Training a chocobo is really hard. Well, not really hard. It's just really grindy. You've got to take it to combat a lot, or feed it a lot of experience enhancing drugs. Now, there's food that gives experience. Like, what you do is you can do it up to once an hour under the train option there, and then you've got to give it as the basic one's called cracker root, and like, in theory, you give it as a reward for good behaviour. So you train it, it gets experience, and it gets the carrot as a reward. Because mine's rank 10, 10 is the highest without extra levelling. I can't take it out at the moment, which I'd love to show you more, but I'm currently in the process of dyeing it, so I need to leave it in the stable so that it can grow feathers, essentially. Yeah, if you get it to 10, you get either healing, DPS, or tank barding. I train mine in healing so that I can primarily do damage. Basically why I leveled it as a healer. And thus unlocked white mage barding. I've got some other cool barding, but I can't actually show at the moment. Some of the higher level primals, like Ramu and Leviathan, have cool barding. And the other one I like is from Fate called Odin. Fates are fun. They're like random events that pop up on the map. If I get around to it, I might show a random fate. But they're like mini events that there's always one happening somewhere, pretty much. Or usually at least 3 open on a map at any given time, or between 3 and 9. I think 9's the most you can possibly have. Odin is a very rare one though, and it takes like hundreds and hundreds of people to actually kill because he is really, really overpowered. And I suppose technically it's the most content you can or the most people fighting one thing you can have is during Fates. So they spawn that just in the open world, and then everyone on the same server. Word spreads fairly fast usually that Odin has spawned, and then everyone who can will then like run and try and kill it. At the moment, I've got all the things that can potentially drop from Odin though, so I probably wouldn't go to it in that scenario. But it's a fun fight. It's really hard as well. Like, if you don't have hundreds of people, you've just got no chance of killing it in time before there's like an enrage timer, I suppose it would be called. If you don't kill him quick enough, he will just lightning everyone to death. Yes, that was chocobos. And this is a cool pond that the free company has, and I'm going to sit in it because, oh, I didn't know you could sit on that. I just learnt something new. So yeah, you can sit on this log thing in this pond and contemplate life. That's my face in the game. Look at it, it's a face. Yeah. You can also use the striking dummy to practice your rotation and attacks. And if you own a house or are high enough in the free company, you can plant stuff. And in the gardens, gardening is a pretty profitable thing because you need a house to have a garden, so not many people have that. And this garden's pretty empty now. Normally there's a lot more in it, so I might talk to the free company leader about what's in the garden because it's really not being used. I'm just going to show you inside this house because why the hell not? Yeah, these are, I suppose, NPC characters. The thing about my gear is, after using it, its condition is a bit lower. Like, hovering my bow, and the condition's down to 55%. That's down to 55. Everything's at roughly 55% condition, because I've been fighting with it a lot. So I've got to get it mended, pay some money, which is like hardly any money compared to all the money I have. So I've played this for a while, I've gathered finance, I suppose. Cool thing about my free company house is I need to be a cooking craft class. I wonder if I can quickly equip that or not. Where is it even? Where's culinarian? There it is. There we go. Now I can cook things. And using like a stove increases the ability to cook. They normally cost a lot of money, but our free company is pretty cool and has existed a while, thus cooking is easy. Then I can craft all these things using my cooking abilities, like lavender oil and chicken and mushrooms and all the other food. And that's like basically how crafting works in practically every game ever, probably. Another cool crafting class is leatherworking. Using this table to boost its ability. And then you can use your leatherworking ability to make like belts and that's a puggless weapon, and pants and armor for other classes. And as a bard, primarily as you're leveling, you get most of your armor's made out of leather stuff. Highest body is actually Weaver. Yeah, the gloves are leather worker. That's Weaver. Pants are leather working. Yeah, another useful crafting class is obviously Weaver for me, because that would, if I can be bothered to level it up, then I can weave my own gear, or at least repair my own gear. And then the other main one is Goldsmith, because they make all the jewellery. So they're like three of the useful classes. If you're a tank, then you use a lot of armouring, so you'd want to be, what are they called? Blacksmith and Armourer. I can't remember which one does which, to be honest, and which of these helps which. They're two, like, there's a lot that each can craft, so they sort of split into two, and I can't remember why, but there was a decent reason. Yeah, one can use that to upgrade, and one can use that one. And I can't remember what the hell oh, that's for carpentry. Carpenter is mainly maker of bows, so I should really level that, but where's my carpenting? Where the hell is it? Oh, level 1. Yeah, I've not all. I should really get around to it, maybe. That's a sort of brief explanation of the crafting classes. Very brief, as I'm terrible at crafting. Oh, alchemy's a thing as well. I'll show the big alchemy thing. Alchemists make potions, and also books for scholars and summoners, and probably other stuff as well, I forget. That is an alchemy thing. Furnace. I wasn't sure what that even was. And that's basically going through carpenter. Weapons, armor, jewellery, armor, potions and weapons. Food in this game busts you slightly. For example, the only food I really ever use is omelettes, because it's the best for my class, and there's very few amount of content that because I'm so well geared that I need food to like be able to pass it. Like, the only dungeon at the moment is the hardest one, turn 9, and I need food for that just to get the accuracy cap, because the accuracy is abnormally high for that at one specific point. I've got to have as much accuracy as a tank would have, and without going into too much detail, so basically I need food for that, pretty much. If you're lower level as well on some of the highest content, then food is really necessary as well, just so that you're pushing out enough damage in the time that it takes to kill the bosses. And the last few classes that you can do are Disciples of Land, which is Mining, Botanist and Fisher. Miner mines ores. Ores that are useful for things such as these crystals. You need these crystals for all the other crafting classes, so Miner's pretty damn useful, to be honest. I've gathered a lot from doing crafting quests, and the fire and ice sprites, for example, they will drop shards and crystals. I'm pretty sure you need to mine to cluster. I think I bought the few clusters I do have, probably. But yeah, mine is dead useful for that, essentially. Botanist, I've not actually even unlocked that yet. That is the only thing I've not unlocked in this game, I think. I've just not got round to it. But they can cut down trees and plants for culinary and alchemy, I'm guessing, and weaver, I think? Definitely carpenter. But yeah, they're pretty useful. And fisher is fish for cooking, essentially. But then it gets into more detail because you can desynthesize the fish, turn them into other crafting gear, like bones and glue, and all other kinds of classes can sort of use them. I've not really got into fishing, but I know this stuff can happen. Also just running around the free company house to kind of show this is a meeting room, sort of, and there's a hot tub in here with a harp in it. Which I don't really know if you can hear that well. I may turn this game up a bit just because harp music. Pretty harp music, essentially. Anyway, going back to what I was describing. So yeah, fishing, like the most obvious use is just you can fish for fishing and then cook them for food, and that's, yeah, this house is really fancy as well, if you can't tell. So yeah, fish for fishing, cook for food. That's the most simple use of it. But then you can turn the fish into all other things, and there's like whole random events that sort of can be triggered if you fish the right fish. Then you can spawn specific hunting mobs, and hunts can give very valuable things. And I think that's about as much detail as I can go into for the classes. I've sort of gone over I've mentioned the currency before. Philosophy doesn't really exist in the game anymore, but it's listed there because it did once. And mythology is currently the lowest level of tombstone you can get. The tombstones are used for like high level gear. Myth tombs get for like item level 90 stuff, which you can equip as soon as you're level 50. So if it specifically for training secondary classes, as soon as you've hit 50, you can upgrade straight to myth gear. Doing that though, you miss out the experiences like of between item levels 50 and 90 though. So if people are doing the first run through, I would like always recommend to not go straight to 90, because you'll end up being terrible at playing the class, because you sort of really learn it between those levels. Like when I'd hit 50 as Archer, I was really bad. I think I've only just in the last sort of month or so got on my attacks in sort of perfect order, and before that it was close to it, but I was still doing things a bit wrong. But my point being, in the item level section, there's still a lot of learning to happen, because you've only just unlocked all of your abilities at that point. Yeah. Soldiery at the moment is capped, so you can only get 450 at most a week. And in other weeks, I would probably have, like, I'd have already capped at that, because I normally get quite a bit of soldiery from generally what I do. But this week I've been streaming mostly, to be honest, so I've not been doing that as much. Yeah, and hang on, I will teleport to Modana, the place where you can spend all of your myth and soldiery fun. This is all stuff above level 50 as well, so like, you don't get myth tomes until you're at least 50. Yeah, that is a gold chocobo armor. That is a pretty hard thing to get. You have to have 500 commendations. You get commendations when people think that you're really good in a dungeon. Like at the end of Circus Tower, I gave one to a summoner, I think. I've only got 274. They're really hard to get as DPS, because like by default they sort of go to tanks or healers, and even then most people are lazy. Strangely, I've got a lot more as bard than I have as a healer, though. But I'm a fairly good bard, to be honest. And there's a lot of people that I want. Yeah, that's a non-gold version of that. It's called Magitech armor. It's like a mecha chocobo. So yeah, to trade in myth and soldiery, you gotta go to this person. I'll just quickly look at like the myth hats for bard is 495 myth, which myth is damn easy to get now, but it wasn't originally when it came out. And the body is 825. See, and the belt's 375. They're the main sort of numbers. Like boots 495, pants 825, belt and accessories 375, and gloves 495. Accessories can be seen here. They're all the same price. Going back over to here, there's gear, there's a weapon, there's hat, body, hands, belt, legs, pants. Total is a pretty large number, basically. I'm not going to add that up now because I'm too lazy. You can probably do it if you really want to, but I'm not going to make you. And then there's all the accessories. The accessories are obviously quite cheap in comparison, but the thing... Hang on. I just go back into the soldiery menu. I'll go the Disciples of Magic for soldiery. So with the currency, you can only get 450 a week, but as you can see, only accessories are less than that price. So you're gonna need to save it for like more than a week if you want to get the hats or gloves or pants, or well, pants and bodies especially, because they're 825. That's at least 2 weeks worth. That's soldiery gear, for example, and that, I think that was one of the first things I got, because most people go with accessories first, because that way you can item level quicker, because you can get them quicker, your item level raises quicker, obviously. But I was weird and thought, I'll go for the expensive things first, because then it'll be easy later. And by doing that, I jumped from 106 to 110 really quickly, whereas like 95 to 105 was like one a week at most. So yeah, I'm trying to level up my scholar using soldiery now that I've got my bard fully leveled, so I'm trying to get my scholar. Nearly said summoner. Trying to level up my summoner now with soldiery. So I'm probably going to go for ring next, which is 375. I'm 168. Oh wait, that can't be right. 167. I was one off. 167 more soldiery, and I can get a ring. And because I ran Circus Tower, I've got the oil ready to upgrade that. But yeah, in terms of inventory space, this is like a standard amount of inventory that you get. You get 100 slots like to carry with you at any point. There's also an armory chest though, so like when you get all of the dungeon drops are loot, and stuff that takes up the inventory space, weapons, hats, etc, etc, etc. The only problem I have with this is you can equip 2 rings at once, so you arguably end up collecting more rings, but there's the same amount of ring storage space as there are for everything else. It's really annoying. And when you're trying to keep your inventory to like just the highest level stuff, just gonna sort this. I should not have that ring still. That should be on my retainer. I'll show you retainers in a second. Yeah, these are all 110 rings. I've been collecting rings as much as I can because because there's 2 rings and they're like, for a bard anyway, the rings were the hardest thing to get, so getting rings for the other classes is like sort of helping. Yeah, I was going about inventory space. There's 100 slots. Because of not having enough space in my armory chest, I've got some equipment here. That's 30 slots of my inventory's equipment. I kind of hoard equipment because it either looks pretty, or I'm leveling lower classes, or I just don't have armory space and can't bother throwing it away or selling it. Or I can't sell it. This is a retainer, and retainers are essentially extra inventory. I have given mine hilarious names like Fluffy McKitty and Lady Kitty Paws. The reason being because the races, one of which is called Mikote, and the cat girls essentially. Because this is a Japanese game. And you've got to have cat girls. I'm actually playing as an elf race that's called Elizon, if anyone was wondering that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I am actually incredibly tall compared to everyone else. I am 2 meters tall. That is a cat girl, and she is practically midget to me. That's a human girl, and again, there's like half a meter between us at least. But look at how tiny this cat girl is. Look at her, kitty. And here we go. The best race of all is just Lalafell, because they're just knee-high to me. They're so small. I just want to pet them all. I don't even know that person. I've just gone up to them and pet them. And they're called Mr. Wiggles. Spelt very stupidly, but still, that is what they're called. But yeah, that's why Lalafells are hilarious and also the best race. Other than Elzon, because I'm an Elzon. So yeah, going back to retainers, both of mine are cats because hilarious names. And they are extra item storage. You can carry 100 items on you. Each retainer can have up to 175 items. So as you can probably tell, I've stuffed this one full of gear that I kind of don't want to sell, or is useful eventually, or I don't know, I just couldn't be bothered sorting it out properly. But I would say it's mostly the last, but it's actually not. A lot of the items are useful. They can also run out... Ooh, metallic gold, sweet. That's apparently really rare. I have no use for it, but still, it's a rare thing. You can also send them out on adventures themselves. I've actually leveled this retainer up to level 50, which takes a while, but... where you level them up is assigning ventures, like an adventure, but without the ad. And the best way to do that is to send them on field exploration, because that gives the most experience over time. That's already level 50 though, so I'm going to do quick exploration, because it only takes an hour and it can lead to interesting gear being found. For example, the metallic gold paint was pretty rare. Not something I need specifically, but still it's a rare thing, so that's cool, I guess. The other interesting thing is you can only level your retainers as high as each individual class is leveled that you have leveled. So that's the level 50 archer, because I've leveled my archer to 50. My other retainer, once I get round to it, that is my phone telling me things have happened online. My other retainer is an Arcanist, because that's the other thing I've got at 50. But I got my Arcanist to 50 after my Archer, and I kind of didn't bother training this retainer as much. So they're at 27. Because I've been really slowly sort of training them. They'll eventually get to 50, and then I can send them on quick quests as well. To get them to go on adventures though, you've got to have these items that are called adventures. You can get them a number of ways, but they can run out if you don't have enough. I've got 86 because I've been spamming hunts, and I have nothing else to spend hunting currency on. Hunting currency is allied seals. Allied seals you get for hunts. and you can use them on shiny things. Used to be that you would use them on sands and oils, but now Circus Tower has sort of an excess amount of sand and oil that you kind of don't need to spam it as much. So now, instead of spending on that, you can just spend it on ventures pretty much. I had nothing else to spend it on personally. But for my archer, this badass coat that I'm wearing, that originally cost 1,000 allied seals, which I'd say at the time they were harder to get, but I suppose they're as hard to get now. But at the time they had a better use than, because now you don't need sand and oil as much because of Circus Tower being too easy. They used to not drop. There used to be 1 oil drops from Circus Tower, and that was it. Now there's 2 oil and 2 sand drops. It's like, it's just too easy, which is why in one of my retainer, I think I've already got 3 ores stacked up. It would be, oh yeah, I was going to show the random stuff I've collected with this retainer. This is pretty much all crafting gear, like raw food ingredients, pretty much all over there. Bones and horns, and there would be skin here as well, but I've got them for leatherworking, obviously, and other various crafting things. Right, oh, I do have sand of time here, and I'm going to add this oil, and I've got 4 oil, so if I get all of the soldiery gear for my scholar, for example, then I can instantly upgrade 4 of that. And I've got 1 sand for when I eventually get around to getting more soldiery gear for that. I just realised I've gone over the armour, and also, if you're wondering, that's what a quest complete thing looks like. I don't need to collect that now though, but now I've told you, I might as well. It's a farmable quest that you can do over and over again, and in doing so, you get an item that is a mysterious map. Mysterious maps are fun because you can use them to